Hello, I am Scout83 and you are watching an Avatar Conquest battle. In this battle, I am primarily going to keep pushing forward with my troops. In contrast, my opponent is going to mostly stay in a defensive position on a hill. I have some extra cavalry on my left, far left, away from my other troops that'll play a big part in the battle later on. I will be slowly moving them forward to get closer to the enemy to make it more advantageous, but luckily since there's a line of trees there, I can move them up without being seen. On my right, I'm going to keep moving my troops forward. I'm going to send some cavalry up into the trees up ahead. I'm going to use some infantry as a backbone behind them. Really didn't need this. I could have done the scouting with the cavalry and been probably just fine. While I'm doing that, I'm going to send my general in here and I'm going to capture this building. This building is a workshop, and it might come in handy later. But what I really want to do is capture the archery dojo that's in the center of the map, which I will do later in the match. Now, my opponent here is capturing the sword dojo, which will give him a little bit of an advantage in melee. Now my opponent has lined up a line of Black Tosa Force troops and a lower line to start off with his defensive line. Now my army at the moment is somewhat divided, and the beginning line begins to come under artillery attack from his Armstrong guns. Now, believing that I might have a chance at his artillery, I launch my cavalry in from two sides in to try to get there. Now, he moves out a line of spearmen, so I change my plans. Rather than going for artillery, I'm going to sweep in behind his forward line. Their weak troops should be very vulnerable to a cavalry charge. Now his spear troops finally start getting there, and I have to pull off my cavalry to keep them away from the spear troops. If the spears get to my cavalry, they'll butcher them. While all this is happening, he begins moving his force, his entire force, off of the hill to join in the fray. At this point, the lead elements of my infantry are finally starting to engage their troops. And here I'm peeling off my light infantry to keep them out of melee fight. I am pushing all of my troops forward, trying to take advantage of the chaos that's been caused by my cavalry assault. My opponent's artillery is taking a big toll on my troops, but I've still got the advantage at the moment. At least I believe I do, so I'm pushing up. Their troops' morale are suffering from the combination of all of the fighting that they've already seen. Well, my morale is still high, so I do have, at least on the morale front, I've got an advantage at the moment. Now, I am pushing forward his lead lines, but he is pulling back his good troops back into a defensive line and tree line, and I'm going to keep on pursuing. Now, the thing is, like, I've had enough chaos so far, but he's now creating a strong defensive line in that treetop, and I should have stopped and thought about this beforehand, because now I'm finally, he was smart enough to create a new defensive line, a very strong one that I'm not going to be able to attack. Under the immense pressure of these good troops in a good position, my line is starting to break and fall apart. As a result, I'm forced to pull my troops back. Now I start moving my artillery forward to support. Now they come under their artillery fire, so I'm going to set up and start doing it. But as he's engaging my artillery, I think I see an opportunity to take out his artillery. I push forward enough to do this. Now this is an extreme risk because I know he's got really good troops behind me. While I do force his artillery to push back, I'm now going to start coming into direct contact with his superior troops that are better and have more numbers. At this stage, I need to pull back. There's a building. If I could just take that one building, I would force him to come off this hill, and I'd be able to fight defensively, but I stick in here. I don't know why. It was a horrible decision, but I stick it out. My opponent's defensive line is still extremely strong. I have no chance against it. As a result, my troops break and run. My artillery's still engaging, but at this stage, the battle's over. He's won.
Battlefield, sir.
And the last of my troops flee. In this battle, basically what it winds down to is the fact that I was attacking uphill, and I didn't make any real attempt to maneuver or anything else, and I was attacking really at a point where I hit the top. I was attacking a superior force with an inferior one and doing a full frontal assault, which pretty much doomed me. And the thing is that I got carried up in the fact that, you know, I was winning on the way up the hill because I was creating enough chaos for them to keep going. And I got caught up in the motion and just kept going until I ran into the wall, which is that force that was up at the top. Unfortunately, I didn't fall back immediately, regroup, and then try to maneuver on the hill so that I could take it away from him. And honestly, I didn't even have to take it from him. I should have gone down and captured the sword dojo, which would have made it so that I owned all of the dojos, which would have put a time limit, which would have forced him to come down and get me. But, unfortunately, that's not what I did, and I lost. So anyway, here are the unit statistics, and these should be roughly accurate. Overall, my forces did alright. Unfortunately, this is mostly with the different forces that were on there. Obviously, his U.S. Marines did really good. They were positioned up the top of the hill. I think these guys were also positioned at the top of the hill. They had the forest working for them, and they had their artillery firing and everything. Their artillery did pretty good. Actually, our artillery did fairly much even, which is actually very surprising. But anyway, I want to say good game to my opponent, and thank you for watching.